Welcome to the WestBIC Startup Podcast. Fáilte go podchriú WestBIC the Gaeltachta nua Hanscanta. My name is Eunan Cunningham and I am joined today by Sinéad Ní Fhatharta, who is Enterprise and Employment Manager with Údarás na Gaeltachta and currently the Chairperson of WestBIC. Údarás na Gaeltachta is the regional authority responsible for the economic, social and cultural development of the Gaeltacht. If you'd like to hear this podcast in Gaelic, you will find it on the same platform as this podcast. You're very welcome, Sinéad.
Thank you very much, Eunan.
Sinéad, I'd like to start by asking you to tell us a little about yourself and your role with WestBIC and with Údarás na Gaeltachta.
Well, I worked with the Údarás over the last 30 years and have, while working there, have qualified as an accountant, received my MBA and have just qualified as a director, which brings a lot of business skills to my experience within the enterprise sector. I've worked with entrepreneurs and micro, small, medium and large companies over the last 20 years, especially in the enterprise and employment division, which has given me a great, I suppose, wide berth of experience in different sectors. The Gaeltacht area is a very wide and varied geographical area, as is the sectors and the businesses within it. Over 7 years ago, I was invited to join the board of WestBIC, which at the time, the majority of directors were men. And I smile now because now we have the majority as women. I think we can now get the right balance in the future with having that kind of autocorrect. And as chair for the last number of months, I've enjoyed the role and working with my fellow directors who come from both the private and public sectors in supporting the staff of WestBIC with their challenge of developing HPSUs and entrepreneurs within the West, and of which they have achieved a lot over their working life and into the future. So it is a great honour for me to be the chair and working with yourself and your colleagues, Eunan.
Okay, thanks, Sinéad. And Sinéad, tell me, where in the west of Ireland does Údarás na Gaeltachta provide its supports, and what types of supports do Údarás na Gaeltachta provide to entrepreneurs and startups?
So, as you may know, the Údarás na Gaeltachta falls under legislation which outlines that the Gaeltacht areas are within 7 counties throughout the country. And with that, I suppose 3 of them lie within the western or northwestern region, being your own county Donegal, Mayo and Galway. So they are 3 large counties, and a vast amount of the area is within the Gaeltacht, where we speak Irish on a daily basis. It's probably worth noting that that's how we are differentiated from the others, the rest of the country. And how do we support? I suppose we start with looking at for HPSUs and entrepreneurs, do they require equity investment? So we will invest in shares and support them while they develop their concept. And then we move on to the grants, which vary from capital, employment, to R&D, which is a very important part of any innovative company, to go to productivity and marketing, which so they really cover, and training. So they cover every aspect of the business, which helps develop them and grow the business into the long term. Also, I suppose when you come to talk to us, we ourselves have a lot of expertise in how we develop companies. And we would share that and I suppose direct and support companies and entrepreneurs within that journey. Other things that make us maybe a little bit different from other agencies is we have a property portfolio, which enables us as kind of the largest commercial landlord of the Gaeltacht to provide the appropriate space for companies and entrepreneurs so that they have the space that they require, that it fulfills their needs to grow and develop a business. We also do a lot of work on the softer supports like mentoring, advice, maybe even connecting within our network of companies and colleagues that can help companies develop and support in that regard. So we have a wide range of product offerings and supports for HPSUs.
That's great, Sinead. Thank you. And tell me, are there particular sectors where Údarás na Gaeltachta are seeing growth trends at the moment?
Well, I suppose we're really looking at, I suppose, after the pandemic, and we'll see that the importance of life sciences is a big one. And Údarás would have both new and long established life science businesses within our portfolio. And we see that they're very much in a growth stage. But also we have to look at the wider sectors and maybe traditional sectors that now are converging with technology. So we would be looking at fintech, agri-tech, and really all sectors now all have a digital or technological base. And I suppose that's one thing we see is very important. Also in our portfolio, we would have a lot of natural resource companies that are kind of looking, whether it is to the sea, whether it's marine or wind or whatever, that we're looking at how companies along the western seaboard in the Gaeltacht areas can grow from this natural resource that we have there. And I think it's important also to note that while heavy industry may have left the country, there is an awful lot of specialised industry manufacturers within our portfolio that sell their expertise in the niche markets and make a very good business from it. And I think that's important to note, that it's not all maybe tech in the ICT tech, but that the traditional manufacturers have also expertise that are growing as well within our portfolio.
Okay, thank you. And Sinead, you mentioned earlier about the large property portfolio that Údarás na Gaeltachta has. Can you tell me what impact will the countrywide gteics, the Gaeltacht Digital Hubs, what effect will they have on new startup development and employment in the west of Ireland?
Yes, so as I said, we do have a large portfolio, and traditionally they would be advanced factories, while now we really understand that the market requires high-end, good quality co-working spaces and office spaces. So our digital hub network, the Gaeltacht Digital Hubs, our gteics, we are establishing over 30 of them throughout the Gaeltacht, which will give opportunities both to remote workers and to entrepreneurs to come home or to remain in their home, or to welcome new people into our communities throughout the Gaeltacht that will use these facilities to help grow their businesses, to create employment on the ground. I think this is a great opportunity for us in respect of building an entrepreneurial ecosystem and community within the Gaeltacht, both on the ground within the buildings, the physical buildings, but also in this great virtual world that we've all come to know, and how we can now get value from that. So I think and believe, as does all my colleagues, that this is a great opportunity for the Gaeltacht to attract and to develop talent on a global stage in our local communities.
Okay, and Sinead, what advice would you give to entrepreneurs who are thinking of establishing their innovative startups in the Gaeltacht?
Well, the first thing I'd advise them is to come and talk to us and learn about how we can support them, both in financially and non-financially, in advice and supporting them as providing space, etc. But I suppose I'd advise any entrepreneur to have to look at him or herself and say, what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses? And where my weaknesses are, that I need to make sure I have somebody, or I turn those weaknesses into a strength so that I can build a strong business. I'd also be looking at getting to know finance and to know how to make money out of your idea and concept, that how to develop it into a business that pays you to be in business. And I would also recommend that people look at business models when they're looking at developing their concept. So I love the business model canvas because I think it covers all aspects. At least it opens your eyes to all of the various things you have to cover when you're starting up a business. And I think one of the things we underestimate is having somebody in your corner. So if you can get a mentor, whether it's a friend or family or a member or a former colleague or somebody that has a vast amount of business expertise and knowledge, and that you have them at the other end of the phone when you're having an issue or you're planning out your business, because I think they can take some of the pain away that happens when you're developing your business, and that they help you and guide you. And I think they're a very valuable asset to have when you're developing a business. So they're the kind of things. And believe in yourself. Make sure that your product or service is a solution to somebody else's problem that they will pay for. To understand that while you may be able to make something, it doesn't necessarily mean somebody will want to buy it. So make sure that your product or service is fulfilling somebody else's solution that they need for whatever issue or problem they have. So from that perspective, but I suppose know your strengths and weaknesses and come and talk to us in the Gaeltacht, and we'll help you develop your concept.
Okay, some great advice there. Thank you, Sinead. And thank you indeed, Sinead, for providing us with a comprehensive overview on the supports for Gaeltacht startups and SMEs from Údarás na Gaeltachta. That's all from the WestBIC podcast for today. Please join us for future podcasts and subscribe to or follow WestBIC wherever you listen to your podcasts. Glór míle maith agah agus slán.